recording. Prepositions in, at, and on. In means located within a space. At means within or towards a space. On means on top of or to have power to. The kitchen, excuse me. The chicken is on the table. The chicken was in the oven. I bought chicken at the grocery store. I heard my favorite song on the radio. The check is in the mail. We meet at dawn. I arrived on time. I left my keys in the car. I left my car at the mechanic's. I left my keys in my car on the dash at the mechanic's. I work at a pharmacy in a grocery store on the corner of the street. When we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better too. Pablo Coelho? I'm not 100% sure on that last name. Never rest on your laurels. Nothing wilts faster than a laurel sat upon. Mary Kay. To reach a port, we must sail. Sail not tied at anchor. Sail not drift. Franklin Roosevelt. Only a mediocre person is always at his best. W. Somerset Maugham. I heard her for the first time on the radio. At the time, I had never tried sushi. In the nick of time, I found the last copy. I sat on the nearest available seat. And, let's go back through just in case people might have some questions on the usage. Now, since anything is possible to be on the table, you could use all sorts of different choices. So basically, you sat the chicken on top of the table. And instead of chicken, it could be the steak, the meal, the glass, all sorts of things. I mean, you could just use is on the table. And just change the chicken to whatever you want. The book is on the table. My glasses are on the table. Because once you make it plural, though, then you will need to change the is to are. That's the only thing you have to remember when using a sentence like this. The chicken was in the oven. And, of course, in that time, we're saying that that's what we were cooking, and it was inside the oven. So, was is past tense. And since it's past tense, that's why we're not using is. Now, if we say the chicken is in the oven, that means we are still cooking it. But when we say the chicken was in the oven, that should mean, if we know how to cook, that it's already done and finished. I bought chicken at the store, at the grocery store. Or I bought a radio at the music store. Or I bought a CD. Well, does anybody even use CDs? At the music store. And simply, you could just change chicken and what type of store to create all sorts of sentences. And at is basically showing the location. And bought is the verb, and it's referring. And chicken is basically the direct object showing what was bought. And chicken was bought. Who did the buying? That was me or I, because I is the subject of the sentence. So yeah, it's really simple, and you get the prepositional phrase starting with at. I heard my favorite song on the radio. My is a possessive, and it shows whose favorite song it is. It could be her favorite song, his favorite song. There you go. And then on the radio is what it was playing on or through. And we use on for basically any electric device. If it has power going to it and you plug it in and it needs charged, you'll use on. The check is in the mail. And the reason we say in the mail is because in the United States and just about everywhere else, as far as I'm aware of, you have some kind of mailbox or a little slot, whether it's at the post office or actually at your house. You have a mailbox and you put it in there, so it's going inside. It's not sitting on top of it, it's going inside of it. So at dawn, it kind of sounds like a location, but in this time it's located in time, if that's an easy way to look at it. So a location, depending on how you view things, can kind of also be time, and that's why we meet at dawn makes sense. I arrived on time, or I arrived in time. Like on time means you just like kind of you made it, and you know it's no big deal. But like when you say I arrived in time, it's kind of showing a little bit more urgency. I left my keys in the car, or I left my keys inside the car. Both would work. And again, we have the possessive showing whose keys. They're my keys. Same thing here. We have the possessive, and at is showing the location, which is the mechanics. And then again, it's the same sentence more or less, but this time it's inside of the car, placed on the dash, and the car itself is located at the mechanics. So we have a bunch of locations here. The keys are located inside of the car, but specifically on top of the dash, and the car's location is at the mechanics. And then at a pharmacy store, at a pharmacy is the general location. And in a grocery store, it makes it a little bit more specific that I work inside of a grocery store. And on the corner of the street gives a little bit more of a location of where it is. But I don't say like which street. It would be even more specific if I said on the corner of 5th Street. Then I would be dropping the. Because you don't go, I work at a pharmacy in a grocery store on the corner of the 5th Street. It's of 5th Street, because 5th Street becomes a proper place, and you don't need the in front of a proper place. And I think that's basically it. The quotes pretty much speak for themselves. I hope this has been a blessing and helped you in some way. Thanks for stopping by. That's not it yet. Okay, if you like Christian poetry, check out my other channel, Narrow Gate versus Scandalgate, on YouTube and many other streaming platforms. You can find my Christian poetry book at Amazon.com under First Fruits by LDDJ. And I also have a bunch of science fiction and fantasy books there. And my website is Otakus for Otakus.com. Have an incredible day. And if you can't remember that, it's somewhere on YouTube. Like, I think it's in my description or my little bio or about me section. That's where you can find it. And for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He who believes in him is not condemned, but he who does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God.